hopefully today, a series of high-intensity cardio interval options for whatever class you might be teaching, whether it is our go-to enrollment class, we call it Pro Club Shred, or it could be even any kind of free class or circuit training class that you might teach at your facility. So what I'd like to emphasize is that, again, today I am demonstrating as well as explaining and teaching high-intensity interval training cardiovascular exercises. And the only piece of equipment I pulled out of the studio was a step, because I figured most facilities are going to have your kind of basic step. However, majority of other pieces of equipment that are cardio-based could be used for these high-intensity exercises. It would just be up to the instructor to find what works for them. So we at this location have step 360s as well. You could do a lot of what you do on a step with those, just kind of plays with the soft landing, which is nice, and a bit more core work when you're on top of it. And then of course you could use a BOSU trainer for a lot of these exercises as well. So I want you to first identify that I'm not using very much equipment, and I do not recommend doing high-intensity cardiovascular exercises with weights of any kind, where you're like jumping with them, or you're running with them, or you're doing jumping jacks with them. If you're teaching a good exercise, you're encouraging your participants to understand the intensity you're looking for. You don't need to add those other pieces of equipment, which can actually distract a participant and prevent them from working as hard as they could with that piece of equipment. I think as fitness professionals, we are very fit for the most part, and we like to throw these pieces of equipment in there and do them in weird, funky ways, and it actually takes down the intensity our participants are experiencing, because it gets complicated. They have to think more, and they're not able to keep up with the learning curve their body is trying to understand in order to hit that intensity. So anyways, that's my last of lecturing on that topic. But I'll go ahead again and explain. This is high-intensity interval training. In our Shred program, we have 4 basic parts of our classes that are happening each day of the week that they happen. Only 2 components of those happen. So today is cardiovascular high-intensity interval training. And then in the other videos to follow this, I will go over endurance strength training, which is another piece. It happens on a similar day. And then power strength training, which is like high intensity strength training, the difference between that and endurance strength training. And then I'll go through steady state cardiovascular exercises. So this video is all about high intensity cardio exercises. What does that mean? It means when you're programming exercises for this component of class, they need to be big. They need to incorporate the entire body. They need to take the body from side to side, to front and back, to down and up. So a good example is going to be a burpee. A good example is going to be like a star jump or a jumping jack. And I'll definitely give you the ability to give your participants options, but they need to be very intense exercises for that high intensity experience. I also want you to understand how to program your timing for this section of class. So if you're doing high intensity exercises, you want your clients and your participants to feel that high intensity, then you need to be clear on the time. So true high intensity interval training, as we know from obviously finding that aerobic state, is that they need to be all out working as hard as they possibly can. So when they get to that anaerobic threshold and they're pushing as hard as they possibly can, then they need recovery. So therefore, you should, in a true high-intensity interval format, give them, let's say you give them a 30-second bout of exercise, they should need at least 30 seconds, if not double that, to recover. There's high-intensity interval training where you're getting at least the same 1-to-1 ratio of rest, if not more, which is going to be more beneficial for more intensity, or you're doing pseudo HIIT, where you're giving them sort of rest. So you might be doing burpees to begin with, and you have them jog in place for that duration of the rest, where they're still moving, they're still burning calories, because let's be honest, that's the goal of our group fitness classes, is to keep them moving, to keep them burning calories, or to getting fitter no matter what. And let's be honest, most general exercisers aren't getting themselves to that point where they are here, like they've run a 400 as fast as they possibly can and are needing that break 100%. If they take that break and don't move, that's great, if they got themselves to that place. But it's nice to give them the option of something to do during that rest period. So here are your exercises. The first exercise is a good old burpee. Oh, before I forget, definitely make sure you have a name for whatever exercise or combination you're teaching during high intensity interval training. Again, in order to hit that high intensity interval training, it needs to be no more than about 30 to 45 seconds. 45 seconds is pushing it. 30 seconds, it could be 20 seconds of work. It needs to be a short amount of work with rest, equal to more amounts of rest. So if we're gonna do 30, I'm gonna give them 30 seconds off. If I'm gonna do 20, I'm gonna give them at least 20 seconds off. Okay, so now that I've talked about that, for the first exercise, I definitely have a clear name for it because you're gonna have to call out these things quickly and demonstrate quickly in their rest period before they go to the next thing. So that's all the distraction I wanted to make on that. So a burpee, we can do our good old burpee. Let's say we explain the burpee. Here's our option, hands to the floor. That's where the step can come in handy, stepping back, or we go jumping back. We can add the push-up. We can add the jump at the top. Once I've demonstrated that, that's good enough. Let's go. 20 seconds of burpee. Guess what? 20 to 30 seconds, whatever you choose. Guess what? During their rest, you start to demonstrate, talk about the next exercise. Now the thing about shred is that it's supposed to progress over time. So what are some ways that we could tweak the burpee? We could add elevation. So maybe they burpee and they jump onto something. Maybe they do a burpee and they change direction. So the next couple weeks of class, they've done burpees for a little while in their HIIT stage. We add direction. We add direction to the side after that burpee. Or we can add direction and height. Definitely make sure you've progressed them to the point where they're ready for that. They do their burpee, maybe they jump on top of something laterally. There's so many endless things you can do after a burpee. You can do a burpee, hop up, 180 hop, 180 hop, back down for the burpee. You can do, I don't want to forget anything, burpees with jumping jacks. Maybe they do 4 jumping jacks and a burpee. All cool things you can add, take away, you can move things around, all kinds of cool stuff. You could do that lateral hop burpee, keep them moving side to side. The next exercise I would recommend for high intensity interval training are squat jumps, which you can also bring up or down, change really easily. So make sure you're telling your participants just how many calories and work and fitness these big hummers of legs can give them. So have them make sure they get really low as they can with that chest upright for that squat, and then they jump. Squat, jump. This is not a squat jump, right? Unless their hip mobility or knees or whatever may not prevent them from getting that low, then it needs to be lower. If they're uncomfortable, they experience pain any lower than this, then that's their point that they come down to. If you want to help people have a reference of where their hips should go, if you had a higher bench, if you had a medicine ball, one of those big like Dynamax balls, and you tapped your bottom to the ball and then did a squat jump, that would be great. Again, squat jumps. How can we change them up? We're in the second, third week of shred. We go from squat jump to let's squat jump with a turn. Squat jump with a turn. Squat jump onto a bench. Squat jump forward. Squat jump backwards. Start to play with the direction. Squat jump to the side. Squat jump to a burpee. Progressing that way. Going from, maybe you add a tuck jump to jumping jacks. That's in my list. We do maybe 3 jumping jacks. And I don't know, I'm a slave to the beat of the music. So if you have really fast music and you want to teach to the beat of the music for your shred class, 3 jacks, 2, 3, tuck jump, 1, 2. And if they're taking that tuck jump out, they're squatting. They can tap. They can bring down that impact and still get their heart rate up. Okay, moving on. We have squat jumps. Play with those as you progress the intensity, as you progress different things. Then we have a rotational chop lunge. Nicole, one of our amazing instructors who teaches shred, came up with this one, and we presented it at a conference this summer, is you're holding a lunge, hands out in front of you, jump, switch, jump, switch, jump, switch, jump, switch. How could you make this harder? You can get lower. You can make a bigger jump overhead. Do you have to add a weight to this? No. Would I recommend it? No. You could add height here, rotational lunge here. Maybe you chop, come up. So you can add that intensity with the bench. Whew, definitely high intensity interval. I wouldn't put that in steady state cardio. None of these I would put in there because your heart rate goes up so fast, so high. Then plank jumps. How many things can we do in a plank jump? So many great things. So we've changed their orientation, which can make the high intensity interval training feel a little different. Hands on the floor, or hands on a bench, or hands on a BOSU to elevate the hands. And then we can jump side to side. We could just do good old jump in, jump tucks, jump at an angle. If I were to explain this really easy to my participants, I would just call them plank jumps or plank jacks, where you do jack in and out. Maybe you pull the knees in, jack out. Maybe you put the two together. Maybe you keep it just one. Great, great, great exercise. To make it even harder in the later weeks of shred, hands on the floor, feet on the bench. So we can hop, feet on the bench, feet off the bench. Feet on, feet off. You can go up and over the bench. You can do all kinds of fun stuff. Woo! Get creative. Again, I couldn't do that for more than 30 seconds the entire time working. Okay, plank jumps. Jack with tuck jump, I already showed that. Fast feet up, downs. So when I think about this, I think of Tori, one of our other shred instructors. He was a former football player, and he likes this one for his high intensity interval training. You have your participants go really fast with their feet. Fast, 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 fast. Maybe they pull their feet up a little bit higher as you get better and better at this. When he says go, they basically do a burpee, or they go down to the floor, come back up. So fast, 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 fast. Come down, maybe you have them go all the way chest to the floor. Up, fast, 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 fast. Okay, fast feet, that's really intense for 30 seconds. Fast feet to up and down. Then we have bounding, or jumping forward, jumping backward. So it should be kind of like a squat jump, but trying to hit triple extension as they jump forward. So what that means is ankles, hips, arms, all fully extended. So we're having them jump, land, jump, land. Maybe they jump forward, jump back. Maybe they jump forward, jog back. Jump forward, jog back. So find what works for your class. Building into that, right? Bounding forward and back. Bounding to the side. It's that triple extension. So we're not focusing so much on how low they're going. That'd be our squat jump. We're focusing on bounding, getting that height, getting that triple extension toward the ceiling. Whew. Last but not least, we did the rotational chop. That's where we changed direction. We kept those legs kind of wide. You can add a little hop in the middle of that. Rotate, hop, or you can go into just jump switch lunges. Low impact is going to stay low. Get those arms moving, so they may not be jumping, but they're working. Then we have the option of going into higher impact. Have them use those arms. That's going to help them get their heart rate working harder. Whew. Jump switch lunges. Should not be in steady state cardio. Should be in higher intensity interval cardio. So think about creative ways. I only demonstrated like what, 6, 7 different exercises, but thinking about ways you can incorporate equipment without being weird and unsafe. We want to make sure everything's safe. We want to make sure it's productive. They could start with one riser on this bench, progress in height over the shred length of time. Give them references on the floor. We're lucky enough to have wood slats that are the same amount of length, so I tend to use count 4 of our wood pieces on the floor and then try to jump that far. They're not going to run into anything. They're not going to hopefully trip, but they should be able to have that as a reference on their improvement in going further, higher, farther, longer on that jump or whatever it is. So again, high intensity interval training, high intensity with a lot of rest. Check out my other videos to see what our steady state cardio looks like and the difference between the two. Thanks for watching.